Hi guys! As you can see, I have a new camera. Maybe I should say I borrowed it from my mom, because I thought it would be better to film with a nice camera instead of my old iPhone. It looks so much better, I guess, but I never filmed with such a camera, so let's see how it goes. Today we are making a vest. I made one myself already that I can show you here right now. It's more a classy, tailored vest, but I want to make one that is more loose fitted because I want to use it for throwing it over a blouse or something, so the vest is more versatile. So yeah, and with this video I also want to start a new series, which is making my own capsule wardrobe, but make it for fashion people. But yeah, more to that later on in this video. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Kristina. I'm a fashion design student and I do sewing and design videos. Let's get to the design process and pattern making. I wanted to make a new vest for a long time because I think it's always super cute to wear it over blouses. That's why I decided to go to Pinterest and just search for the kind of style that I want to go. And I saw a lot of basic vests with pockets and just a simple V-cut neckline. And that's exactly what I want to do today. But I also found some nice and interesting vests like these ones. And I think I'm also going to make something like that too for myself, because I really like high necklines and I always wear either a turtleneck or a blouse, and I think they go really nicely above a clothing piece like that. So let's talk about capsule wardrobe. If you don't know what it is, here is a little explanation. A capsule wardrobe is a small, curated collection of essential clothing items that can be easily mixed and matched to create a variety of outfits. The idea is to focus on timeless, high-quality pieces that suit your personal style and can be worn across different seasons. It's about simplifying your wardrobe, reducing clutter, and investing in versatile items that you love wearing over and over again. Typically, a capsule wardrobe includes neutral colors, classic cuts, and a balance of tops, bottoms, outerwear, and accessories to create a cohesive, effortless look. So I want to make a capsule wardrobe myself, but as I mentioned before, I want to make it for fashion people. So the typical capsule wardrobe includes about 20 pieces in your closet. For my personal preference, I think it's just not enough for mix and matching. If you're really into fashion and if you love layering, I guess 20 items is not enough, at least in my opinion. That's why I kind of try to go for a different attempt. That's why I created a list of 90 items for my personal capsule wardrobe. I created a list that you can actually download if you're interested. Just take a look down below in the description. The first mock-up is done, and here you can already see that I am folding this point at the bust area that I need to change in the pattern. Otherwise, I think the fit is good, but I made it a bit looser. The back is also looking good, but I changed the positioning of the straps. I placed them more upwards. The length is also good, but I changed the pocket positioning towards the side seams. And then I went ahead and printed it. For this capsule wardrobe project, I also tried to stick with the fabrics I have at home, because I think a very big point of a capsule wardrobe is also the sustainability aspect, because you should also keep your clothing pieces for a long time. And I think it's the same with sewing it yourself. I kept all the fabrics I have at home for a long time, so I think now it's the time to turn them into garments. That's why I try to stick with this rule as much as I can. So I have these two corduroy fabrics in green and wine red, and today I'm going for the wine red one. But I also think I will make the same vest in green, to be honest. So the first thing I'm going to do is to close the dividing seam in the front and the center back. went ahead and pressed all the seams open, and I also clipped into the seam allowance in the front pieces at the bust area so it lays more flat. Here is a little hack that I use if you do not own a tailor's hem. I just lay the bust area onto the edge of my iron board. Because it's rounded, it's easier for you to press it open at this point. So the final outcome looks a bit cleaner this way. But of course, if you have a tailor's hem, use that instead. I'm placing a piece of interfacing on the left side of the front vest, right where the pocket will go later on. So it's just more stabilized. I also added some interfacing here at the center front where the buttons and the buttonholes will go. Next step is to mark where the pocket should go. A little tutorial on how to do welt pockets. There are a lot of tips and tricks that I know to do. So if you want a detailed video, let me know, because there's just so much that you can make and do and prepare to make it fitting and looking good, or at least like this one. Let me show you with the other side. What I'm going to do now is I'm marking out where the pocket will be. I'm just marking all the lines. I am already extending the lines because later on we need those as guidelines. Now I'm measuring 2.5 centimeters so that I can check already if those points are in a nice position or not. And again, I am drawing these lines and extend them a bit. And we are also going to mark these ones. And also extend it, because we will need those as well. And now it looks like this. So what we marked right here is in the end our welt pocket. What we are going to do now is, I already prepared this rectangle right here. I measured 7 centimeters and just pressed it. As a next step, I'm going ahead and make a stay stitch on this part right here at 2.5 centimeters or maybe even 2.6. We need this as a guideline later on. I'm going ahead and do the stay stitch real quick. Next thing we need to figure out, if you're doing a welt and you're currently working with the welt itself, you need to think about how it looks in the end. It's voiceover me now. Basically, what I do is that I lay the rectangle how it's supposed to look in the end. So when I grab inside the pocket, you can see the good side of the fabric. That means I just go ahead and flip the rectangle around, and then I need to sew it on this way. Before I sew it on, I like to create a new guideline right below the first line we created, also with 2.5 centimeters. That's how I know that I need to place the folded edge of the welt right onto the new guideline we just created. Once that is done, I use the guidelines to place my welt. I just pin it once I think the positioning is good. Now I need to use the old guidelines to figure out where I need to start sewing and to stop sewing. I just transfer it onto the welt. Now I'm going ahead and sew exactly at this line right here. Once that is done, so I'm just checking if I reached the point or if I sewed too much further. I can make sure that the pocket will fit in the end. This side looks good. For the facing, I prepared a rectangle again. And basically I'm doing this same step for the facing and just lay it on top like it needs to sit in the end. Then I am flipping it at the seam line. And now I know it needs to be sewn on like this. I'm just quickly taking this away and just mark about 2.5 centimeters. Now I'm putting this on top of my vest. I'm checking if the line that I did draw on matches with the guidelines. Once I made sure it's at the right position, I pin it. I'm folding everything towards the inside because now I need to see the guidelines and mark again where I need to start sewing and stop sewing. And now I'm going to sew this line. As a next step, I'm removing all the pins. Before cutting into the fabric, you can now check at this point if the distances are the same on each side. So the distance between each seam we made needs to be 2.5, like the welt itself. But I also like to flip it to the left side of the fabric and check also the length of the seams. And if everything is correct, then I'm going ahead and start cutting into the fabric. Once everything is turned to the right side and everything looks good so far, then I'm going ahead and press everything flat. After that, I am going ahead and sew the side seams of the pocket. You can close the sides of the pocket by sewing this little triangle you can see right here. Try to go as near as possible to the pocket itself. The last step for the pocket is to close the inside of the pocket. I just fold everything is in the way and I'm going ahead to sew around the edges of the pocket. Now that the front pieces are done, we can keep on working on the back pieces. So let's lay these two pieces aside. That's what we did so far. We closed the center back. And now next step will be to close the dividing seams. But before I'm doing that, I need to make the band for the back because we need to sandwich it in right here. I prepared these two rectangles. They are cut on fold and now we need to close the edges. So I'm going ahead and close those and leave an opening right here. And then we need to sandwich it in. course I'm pressing it again, but this time I'm pressing the dividing seams towards the side seams. First I wanted to leave the bands like they were without the vest buckle. I changed my mind, that's why I am using these ones. I got them from Amazon a while ago, but I actually do not like them because they feel a bit too heavy. So if you have any recommendations where to get lighter ones, please let me know. But for now I just use those. If you don't use a vest buckle, you can simply leave the bands as they are and just make it high, but now I need to cut it shorter because we only need the length on one side and the other side is a bit too long now. Now that that is done, we just need to close the shoulder seams. We leave the side seams open for now. The shoulder seams are closed and now we can prepare the lining. Those are all the pieces we need. Now I'm going to sew the center back of the lining and facing, and then I'm going to attach the back facing right here. The next step is to sew the dividing seams in the back, and after that I also prepare the facing for the hem part, and I also sew it onto the lining. That's done, but let's move on with the front pieces. Now I need to sew on the facing to the lining first, and then I'm closing the dividing seam. And after that I will also close the shoulder seams of the front and back. Yeah, I'll be right back. That's how the lining looks finished. And again, I left the side seams open. Now it's time to sew the lining to the outer fabric. That's what we need to do. There's the outer part and I'm just putting right sides together. And I'm going to close it all the way around, except for the side seams. We will leave every side seam open. I will now use the openings of the side seam to understitch the seams. So I'm just turning everything to the right side, and now I'm making sure that the seam allowance is facing towards the lining, and then I'm going to understitch. I'm doing that before pressing the fabric. That's how I learned it and that's what works best for me, but I just understitch everything that I can reach with my sewing machine. So let's go ahead and do that. As a last step, I am turning everything right sides out, and I just press everything so it lays flat and nicely. Now that everything is ironed, we need to close the side seams. And that's the way I'm always doing it. I am going ahead and start with one side, and it's usually the left side I start with. I'm pinning right sides together the corduroy fabric. What I'm also doing is that I face the seam allowance towards the lining. Now that is pinned. Now I'm grabbing inside the vest here at the back to grab the piece that I already pinned. This way I can flip it to this side right here, and now I can start pinning the lining, because doing it like that, now you have a circle which you can sew around. Alright, let's go to the sewing machine. Just a tip if you're not doing it already, always sew on the inside of the circle and not on the outside. Don't start sewing like that. Always place the inside of the circle under the sewing machine so it's easier to make a full circle. Now you can just pull it back, and that's one seam closed. Now I'm going ahead and iron it, and then I'm going to show you how to close the other side seam. Lastly, we need to finish the other side seam, and I'm doing it by pinning right sides together the corduroy fabric. And now the trick is to pin as close as you can for the lining part. And now I'm going to sew as much as I can under the sewing machine, and you will be left with an opening that we need to hand sew later on. The last step is to mark the button positions and the position for the buttonholes. I just take my pattern piece for that and transfer it onto the vest. One thing I always do before sewing on buttons is to check if the position of the buttonhole and the button is the same. I just lay the vest like this, as you see, and I pin through the positioning and just check on the other side if the position of the button is the same. That way I can make sure once I sew everything on and I did all the buttonholes that it will actually close nicely. Here you can see me already marking the buttonholes. I always do them by hand because I do not own a domestic sewing machine. If you have one, of course, please do that because it's way faster, but I just simply do not have one. That's why I need to do every buttonhole by hand. If you want a tutorial on that, let me know, because I think it's nice to know how it works. I totally forgot to film an outro. I just have clips of wearing the vest, but yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a longer one than the first one I made, but I hope it's fine. So also let me know what else you want to see. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, bye!